and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders, in green our Category 2, in blue Category 3 and Category 4 in red.
It's these small climbs that really do the damage and can really be places to attack. And the pace, Mohamed Mukhtari, the pace that he put in there, that was a sprint up that climb, Allport on the front of the pack, getting the pace up to speed. So Luke Allport coming to the fore today, absolutely motoring on the front of this Category 3 pack. Let's get this party started. Look at the stretch on that Category 1 pack. They've not even done 1,000 meters at the moment, but boy is it hard out there. Michael Vink is not letting up now. 8 watts per kilo from Vink as he launches an attack on the leading group on Category 1 here. So Vink launches the attack. Kroll is the rider to respond and jump onto his wheel. And these are the leaders in the Category 4 race. Lenador has gone through. Robinson, Cadiz, Abello. 4 leaders now leading. 2 riders dropped off the back of the group. Category 1 is all about Vink and Vuyasin. Michael Vink and Lionel Vuyasin broke away from the field and they are now nearly a minute clear of the chase group, being led by Jasper Paradians. So Paradians leading the charge behind, but he's nearly a minute back. He is going to see the UCI banner signifying the end of qualifier race number 1 for November on the Sunday Race Club. Matt Munro Lenador is going to come across the line and take the win today in Category 4. So your winner in Category 4 for Qualifier 1 for November, Matt Munro Lenador, takes the win today.
Madame, messieurs, bonjour, ravi de vous retrouver sur MyWhoosh pour ce Sunday Race Club. Catégorie au départ, la catégorie 4 en rouge, les bleus de la catégorie 3, la catégorie 2 en vert et bien sûr la catégorie 1 en jaune avec les rouges qui vont ouvrir le bal.
Gros plan sur Nikul Kansara. Ben voilà, la réalisation a tout à fait raison de nous le montrer, un Nikul Kansara puncher. Aujourd'hui, c'est le tracé parfait pour un Nikul Kansara. Encore et encore, un vrai travail de sap de Lyndon Milostic qui est vraiment intenable. Bon, je ne suis pas sûr qu'il va pouvoir garder cette cadence comme ça pendant 45 km. Vuyasin dans les premières positions avec Hayden Pooker, Jasper Paridans. Ça monte à du 9 watts par kilo. Hein. Donc là, on est dans les choses sérieuses. L'écart qui se creuse, 3 secondes. Ah, je crois qu'on va perdre le coureur américain sous l'impulsion de Daniel Cadiz qui a du 5 watts par kilo, 5.4 watts par kilo. Est en train de faire le forcing pour Nikul Kansara. Il a perdu le contact. Kansara, grosse surprise. Et bien voilà, j'aurais dû tout simplement me taire. Alors le sprint, et il y a des concurrents. Regardez, Mister Xan en duel avec son compatriote SS pour un sprint intermédiaire. Ils sont toujours là pour faire le spectacle. La victoire dans ce décor 100% Halloween MyWhoosh. Et c'est donc Mac Mandro Leonador qui va aller chercher la victoire. Il peut déjà savourer bien sûr. Ça monte jusqu'au bout. Voilà la victoire de Mac Mandro Leonador ici à Wollongong.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مشاهدينا الكرام متابعينا في كل مكان، أهلا وسهلا بكم مع الانطلاقات ال4 والفئات ال4. الفئة باللون الأحمر، الفئة الرابعة والفئة الثالثة بالأزرق، والفئة الثانية باللون الأخضر، والأولى باللون الأصفر. بداية الصعود والصعوبة، الكل الآن يضغط. الآن نشوف اللون الأحمر مع جميع الدراجين، هذا يعني بأن الضغط يرتفع، الجميع يرفع السرعة. سوف أكمل بعد عملية الهجوم المبكرة.
نعم،
مستر إكساندرس. نعم،
إكساندرس يضغط فوق ال 500 إلى 600 واط في بداية السباق، ومحاولة مبكرة وسريعة يفاجئ الجميع. يعود من جديد بكل قوة عند الكيلو السادس عشر يلتحق.
برافو. نعم، عاد والتحق. الآن هذه محاولة أخرى من الجانب الأيسر على الشاشة. هذا مستر إكساندرس ومعه أيضا مارك جيتس المتسابق الأسترالي، أسترالي وإماراتي.
نعم اس اس يظهر الآن، واس اس ينطلق بكل قوة، يضغط في 700 واط الآن. مستر اكس 100 يضغط أيضا مع اللاعب اس اس، وهنا المحاولة للحصول على القميص الأخضر بمجموع النقاط الأول والثاني.
سكوالاري، يظهر سكوالاري الآن، هذا الدراج الأسترالي في محاولة هجوم على كونار الألماني بيتر ميلوستيك وعملية هجوم، يحاول أن يلتحق في فيليب جريفز. المتابعة موجودة من الخلف، المستر اكس 100 وبابلو بوبوفيتش، ماك مونرو، ليوندار المتسابق الفلبيني. إذا تواجد فلبيني قوي اليوم على منصة التتويج بالنسبة للفئة الرابعة. الأول والثاني ينهيها ماك مونرو.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 2 of 3 qualifiers before our monthly finals at the end of November, November the 24th. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the race action. I've had what was a great return back into the commentary box for our women's race with Emma Martin. Emma, it was stunning racing in Belgium. It never fails to disappoint, and it's a very similar course to our men's race route.
Well, yes, I have to say, when I did see these 2 routes today, I did think, yes, this is going to be a great Sunday. But you are correct. The women's race was fantastic in all 4 of the race categories. And if you've not seen it, head over to the MyWhoosh YouTube channel because it's there for your perusal.
It is indeed. Do jump on board. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the button. Join us for the racing. Don't forget, we're going to be keeping our eye on the chat as well. So you can always jump on there on the live chat. Now, today's race route, Emma, Arabia Tel Marib, one of the original race routes reworked for your pleasure.
I love this course as well for the men. So Tel Marib for the men, 45 kilometres of racing, 532 metres of climbing. And you can see it laid out in front of you. It's quite a technical first 12 kilometres with a number of small drops and rises, which will make difficult racing, and riders need to pay attention to stay onto the back of the bunch as they come into the aquarium climb. Now, 3.2 kilometres, it's long, but it's not steep. 2.5% average gradient, and the front bunches will still be large. My prediction, early prediction, at the end of the aquarium climb, they drop down into the Leeward Desert climb at 2 kilometres at 3.5%. Then they transition through the Tel Marib sprint into what I think will be the deciding climbs. They're short, they're sharp, they're steep, they're over 10%. And they will indeed decide the finish because it's a 5.3 run-in from the top of the Tel Marib dune climb to the finish line. And it's a little bit tricky along the way.
It is indeed a packed race route for all 4 of our race categories to take on board. You can see each of our race categories represented by a coloured jersey. The first race start is for our category 4 riders, and we have a number of teams in here. We have BMC Racing, Jidi Abello, Joachim Skretin, Karol Bachansky, Martin Kranowski, and we've also got Marcos Cavallo. We've got Level Avengers in here, Rooney and Francis back once again. Level Up are here. That's Brito and Warren. The Mighty Ducks, well, they're going to be captained by Agadello here today. Spinergy team, Noah Trooper and Bonus, both in the mix for Spinergy. Not the only teams here today, because we do also have the Anzacs team. Triple M Upcycled and ZTBR. Those squads, wow, we've got Brett McMurtry, David Winfield, Jonathan Cridland and Mark Dadson for the Anzacs, Mohammed Mukhtari for Triple M, Adriano Sinaska for Upcycled, along with Dromard, Lloyd and Mayard on that squad. ZTBR, the Brazilian rider Osmar Vaz in the mix. 28 nations on our start line today.
65 riders. I tell you, this is the biggest race field. 219 men today down in the start pens on the start sheets, and we're in with Bu Ama as the green of go takes place for the category 4 men, and up and out of the start pen they go, led by Christopher Morgan. On to the course, 65 riders, category 4. It's a who's who, you know. Abello took first place last week. Cridland took fifth. They're part and parcel of those teams, but Bogrin is here. Fielder, Phelan, White, Dadson, Crillo, Cadiz, who took third place last week, Navarro, Gomez, Tortoretto, Nogueira, Rusanek, James Robinson took second place last week. Kutab is here. Calangad, Cadabona is here. Pino, Guevara, Bertrand, Teron, Driscoll, Llewellyn, Newman. It's packed, and the action, well, it's hot already.
It is indeed. And one of the things when we've got such a big race field, 65 riders, that's a big amount of draft to be taking. There's a lot of space, but it's very easy also to be at the wrong end of that bunch and to be really on the whip end. So when you've got a rider like Christopher Morgan at the moment on the attack, Fielder, and the rest of the group at 1 second, literally just behind, when that acceleration goes, it stretches the group out. You can get caught on the wrong side of a gap very easily. If that happens, you're going to be in trouble. It happens so much faster with a bigger bunch. So the riders up, Bouama, one of our regular riders on the Sunday Race Club, a real feature of UAE, the United Arab Emirates, riding out on to the race and looking strong at the minute.
I was just catching Matt out there as I was finishing my coffee. I
looked across and I was thinking, hang on a minute, what's this you're doing coffees?
I know, I had, two races, just a little pause in the middle, just enough time for a cup of coffee, and I just had to finish it before the men's race seriously gets underway. And Category 4 already out of the pen, just catching Matt out there, at least I was, because he was expecting me to pick up with the message. But Jeff,
I wanted my coffee, if I'm really honest.
Jeff Rooney is the rider that we are in with at the moment. Now, Jeff, the first rider ever to Everest on MyWhoosh.
He's an absolute legend. Morning, Jeff. Afternoon, Jeff. Evening, Jeff, because Jeff is on the other side of the planet from us. We are currently in the Full Speed Event Studios in France. Jeff is across in New Zealand, the Fern there in the background, and Jeff pedaling away. Jeff, whose progression on the bike is quite inspirational.
Oh, Jeff has an amazing backstory, and you need to follow Jeff on social media because his backstory is absolutely phenomenal, and it really is worth listening to. Now, Jeff, I have to say, I'm jealous again. He's in that psychology kit, and I do love that kit.
It's nice, isn't it? It's nice. It's nice and bright.
I had to look it up last time because I was working out where around the world it is actually made, and it is an Australian brand.
So an Australian brand. Just jumping in with Bouama. He's in his MyWhoosh jersey, and I think he won that in the $1 million championship that was back in 2023, if I remember correctly.
Well, we're 2024 now, aren't we?
So yes, it must have been 2023. It was an amazing race. Good to see Bouama on the race. Now, he's a rider to watch out for.
Yeah, he's a strong rider.
He's strong. And I think this course is a course that suits Boo because it's a hard man's course. It's not for softies.
Excuse me, but none of the Sunday Race Club routes are really for anybody who isn't strong, tough, and committed and resilient.
I think some of them are maybe, let's say Colombia and the Paso Alto. You 22K of potentially sitting in the bunch and taking it relatively easy before you hit the climbs. Here, it's non-stop action. Once we go through the Aldar HQ sprint, which is where we're heading at the moment, we got a real bumpy section to the Design District sprint, and then we drop down into the Aquarium climb. And from there on in, there's not much rest for our riders. So the Category 4 riders through the sprint, Brian White heading up the sprint points there, and he'll be taking away the sprint jersey. As we move across to Category 3, our next race category to start, the Aotearoa Alliance. So that is Nick Scolari, Peter Connell, and Robert Edwards up against Level Racing's Ben Kirk, Luke Allport. Level NSA Racing have got Eric Rimborg in that. Interesting to see that Jerry Pipponen of Ride Club Finland is joining the action. But take that, back for good. It is Ridley, Spratt, and Kansara, the boy band, hitting the roads. And we're going to see if they are going to be able to take out 20 nations represented in the race field in Category 3. Another massive race field. Henry East, one of those riders from South Africa, lives in New Zealand, up and away, and just taking the start here. You can see this start. Really interesting watching Henry from the start. He's a really experienced rider at this. He doesn't go too hard and burn too much energy on the front, but he's always positioned nicely in the front third.
Mindful.
Masterclass.
Mindful, I think he is. He's mindful of what is going to take place, and he puts himself in the right position to respond. Well, he's in the mix at the moment in this Category 3 pack, and I was going to say, only 57 riders on the start sheets in Category 3, but what an amazing 57, and it's just because of the 65 that are in Category 4 that Category 3 is only, but there's some fabulous riders in here. You've already run through the teams, Matt, and take that, Ridley, Spratt and Kansara. I think this is a really good course for those three. But Edwards was indeed third, and Squilari, both from the Otero Alliance last week. West is here, Neville Ross, Diduch, Lee, Pulgarin, Kirsnowski, Tidholm, Valencia, Elos, Quadrelli. They are absolutely motoring, but Luke Allport is also in the mix. Now we know Luke always in the action, always in the mix. I think this type of course would suit him as well. You know, he's very, very strong coming up from Category 4 to Category 3 and really putting in some phenomenal performances. He was absolutely determined to qualify for the World Championship semi-finals and ride for Australia, and he did. And as part and parcel of that, he has just got fitter and fitter and fitter. And it really has been showing the form that he has got on the Sunday race stop.
And he can go out on the front and do the old port, go for it on the move, really push it at the start and really stretch it out for the riders behind. In this huge, it's a huge race field, and we've got riders from around the globe, you know, from Taylor Gonsolin from the United States through to Sami Tuomi from Finland. You know, you can go to South America, Guarin of Colombia. You can go all the way across to South Africa, Cape Verde, probably the smallest nation represented on the mix of riders. It's a huge race field, Emma. Is there anyone in particular that you're looking at thinking, today this course is their opportunity?
Well, I do think there's a number of riders in here who could go really well. She says, I'm looking here, Van Vellegem could go well, Kirchner could go well. Tidholm would be great to see. I think Allport could go well too.
Andrew Neville Ross.
Conrad Fenderich took the win last week in Wollongong. He rode really, really well. And James Mountier did as well. But Nick Squilari is on our screen at the moment. Now, I'm just going to mention this because if your first name begins with N, like Nick Squilari, there are 7 riders in this Category 3 race field whose name begins with N. So Nick Squilari being one of them, Nicholas Spratt, Nicol Kansara, Nathan Peterson, Nicholas Hagland, Nicholas Orego, and Niall Batty. But it is topped by a first name beginning with J, because there are 8 riders with the first name beginning with J. Jerry Pippenon is in here. James Mountier, Jarno Pick, Jeremona Bedoya, Johan Moreno, Jose Oviedo, Wangarin, Justin Roy. And do you know what? Justin Roy could go well.
That was a little insight into the workings of Emma's brain, working out the stats by first name.
Well,
Welcome to the world
of
being
fabulous.
in the studio at Full Speed Event. Well, one of those riders with an N to start off their first name, their individual name, that is Nicholas Hagland. So Nicholas is on the move. Now, Nicholas Hagland, this is, again, what we're looking for me on this course, what we're looking for is an all-round rider, because the Aquarium climb's quite long, 3.5K, and that's just the climb segment. It's actually longer than that if you go from the start of the climb, which is actually down in the depression after the Design District Sprint. It's nearer to about 5K in length of climbing. You drop straight down off that, straight into the Leeward as a climb, but you've then got long flat sections and you've got some really steep climbs at the back end. You need to be able to do everything on this course. You can't just be a climber. You can't just be a sprinter. You can't just be a ruler or a puncher. You've got to be an all-round great rider, I think. And it's a really, really great course for that. And I think that's where somebody like Hagland really could excel in Category 3. Right-hand side of your screen, Category 4. Brian White has been week in, week out, progressing time and time again. Really good to see Brian in action. He's got that skin suit, the green skin suit, which means that he has taken the most points so far in that sprint competition. Now, we've only had the one sprint, which means he's got the fastest time in Category 4 through there. The points go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5th. place. So positions 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, getting 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points. The points add up across the course of the racing. There are 3 sprints, so maximum points available 15. And the person with the most points gets to pull on the skin suit. Now, it doesn't count for prizes. It does count for bragging rights, which are obviously as important, if not more important, in the world of cycling. Who can, at the end of the ride, say, I got the skin suit for the sprint. I was the best climber. That's really important, particularly if you're going to go on to the MyWhoosh social ride that follows this. So there is a warm-down ride at the end now of the women's race, and there's a warm-down ride at the end of the men's race. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have raced to go on it. It's just a social collection for riders at the end to warm, stretch your legs down, show off your the fact that you were the person there. White at the moment, though, continuing to push here. He's got Morgan, Fielder, Robson, Rooney behind. This bunch are really, really having to work. And White on the offensive.
White is on the offensive at the moment in Category 4. Morgan, Robinson, Fielder, Rooney, Warren all doing the chasing. So is Calderon. And really, really interesting to see. Now, I'm very sorry, but the way my brain works, I've just had to run through the entire race field. And did you know 15% of the entire men's race field given name begins with J?
No, I didn't know that.
It
Thank
does.
you.
And the most of them,
Like Jeff.
Most
On your screen.
13 given names beginning with J in Category 4, 8 in Category 3, 9 in Category 2, only 3 in Category 1. But 15% of the 219 riders first names begin with J.
Sorry.
What is that? That is just like really weird.
You were doing stats, I fell asleep.
No, it was just something interesting and something a bit novel.
It is indeed novel. Yeah, fun. Okay, yeah.
Move on.
In the politest. Well, I think it is interesting. I think it's one of those things that changes. And maybe what Emma's going to do in her time between this show and the next show is then compare ages and names, because some names go out of fashion. For example, I don't think anybody's been called Nigel in the UK for the last 3 years. I'll let you work out why that might be. You can speculate yourselves. However, there are names that become
no disrespect
extinct.
To anybody called Nigel.
No, not at all. One of my best friends is called Nigel.
There you go then.
In fact, he's one of my. I have 2 best friends.
Really? Both called Nigel?
No, one's called Ian and one's called Nigel.
Well, there we go then. But
they live in different countries.
Let's get back to the racing, shall we? And at the moment, Category 3 are stretched back around the corner. And you can see this big sweeping right-hand corner at the moment on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And the stretch on the Category 3 blue jerseys. They're coming up to the 6-kilometre marker now in this 45-kilometre race. And Lutz on the front is absolutely nailing it. Elos, Euler, Ryan Giuliano, he's a phenomenal racer as well, in the mix with Allport. And you can see the rest of the pack coming round the corner. We've said that this course is so technical to start with. There are many drops in climbs out on the way to the aquarium climb at 12.2%, and the Category 3 pack really making the most of it, and so are the Category 4.
Well, they're out on course at the moment. Our next group of riders, 10 minutes behind Category 3 in terms of start time, is Category 2 as we move up through our levels. Now, Level NSA Racing have with us Andrew Rushmer and Thierry Besaidi. The MyWhoosh Werewolves have the biggest squad in terms of numbers. Phil Graves, Cam Winfield, Christoph Thiem, and Simon Walter. The What's Up squad, well, Ian McCarroll, Jakub Wojcik, and the Walter Clays, 3 riders in there. There are 3 riders from the UAE clan team. 3 riders who know this platform inside out. Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic, and SS. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do today, because the way this course profile plays out, the way this course is designed, it's very hard to play team tactics, and yet if you're smart, you can. Will that be the case? Will the team riders, which number 15 riders who are in teams here at the start of our huge race field, I'm not going to give any numbers away. I'll let Emma tell you what percentage it is in teams. 24 nations represented. Category 2 are all ready to go. This is going to be a very, very tough race for pretty much everybody. I cannot imagine Category 2 are going to do anything but the same as Categories 3 and 4 and race hard from the gun.
Well, I agree completely. 60 riders on the start sheets in Category 2. And boy, is there some phenomenal riders in here. Downey is here, Kayan, both Burke and Khan. And we all know that this is a type of course that suits them. Carvajal is here, Holweiler is here, Benedetti is here, Dan, Caro is here, Gombe is here, Nuki, Sir, Abiko, Krasnich, Brune, Betty, Mads Buster took second place last week. Trojanowski is here. Angarita is back in the mix. Van He took fifth. El Alami is here. Nicholas Hammond is here. And Pierre Feld. Great to see new riders in the mix coming from France. Carradine in fourth last week. Peter Millerstick. We know this type of course would suit him as well. And Sebastien Havot from France also here. So a nice French contingent as well.
It is. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out as we continue to push at the moment. Camille Denis at the front here, one of those French riders being chased by Jonas Bjarhed, Olivier Simmons, SS right up to the fore. SS has been incredibly animated in terms of how he makes the racing happen. He's not a rider to sit back and let it come to him.
No.
He really is proactive in making the moves, in pushing on and chasing moves down. And we really see that time and time again, particularly in the early stages of the racing, when there's a big bunch. You see him on the move. Interesting to see Mr. X100 also moving up here. Bruce Bird back in again. Bruce from Canada, a rider who's been on this platform quite a while ago. But good to see Bruce back in. Olivier Simmons.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about people who should excel on this course, Olivier is a rider who can climb. He's a rider who's got great tactical awareness. He's a rider who's not afraid to have a go.
Yes.
He's a rider who does a lot of the work chasing.
Yes. Could be his day.
It could well be his day. Will it be Olivier Simmons' day? If you are watching live, let us know in the comments on live comments on the YouTube. We are keeping an eye on there. Let us know who your favourite is, because this man could well be up there.
If he picks up a Ferrari in the Ferrari showroom, it will be his day, won't it? Because they have a Ferrari rather than a bike. But I don't think that's possible on MyWhoosh. But Bjarhed, I tell you, that's another rider who could ride well today. Carsten Mayer. Cam Winfield took the win last week. And let me just say, last week on the Wollongong course, Category 2, the winning time was 67 minutes, 40 seconds. Winfield, Buster, Theme, Carradine and Van He, who is on our screen at the moment, 2 seconds separated the top 5 on that course last week. And for those of you who can remember, they finished at the top of the Wollongong climb for the 3rd ascent. So the racing in Category 2, so strong and so close.
Really strong, really close. The pressure on in Category 2, you can tell by that long train of riders. Riders being distanced off the back of the pack here. Well, look at this. Kowalski, Wojciech, Bersedi, Velez, all off the back of the group. That is a huge number of riders distance. So 3 sets of riders up the road. Category 2, the last riders that we saw go away, just going through the Eldar HQ sprint, the first of our sprints, 200 meters long. However, with the pressure being on the racing, I think it's going to be very difficult for anybody to particularly target that. Category 1, well, they are our last set of riders to go. They're the top of the tree, the elite riders. 3 big squads. Normally, we're joined now we're up to 4. So we've got the Alpha Jaw squad, Chirek, Tobert, Vajasin, Kaminsky, and Jones. The Wenger boys of Jacobs, Power, and Panizza, joined by Hard to Guard. Now, Hard to Guard, Osborne, Martins, Nuzden, Safrasedi, and Van Elst. And the Farm Watch squad also joining, which is Andreasen, Pucker, and Plantero. So, number of notable things in the teams. 2 teams of 5. 2 teams of 3. But that's not the big title. The big title thing is in the rest of the race field.
Yes.
We have...
Well, let me tell you, last week in Wollongong, it was Vink versus Vujasin, and they rode away from the field. 2nd place rider in the World Championships, giving Michael Vink a run for his money. This week, the gold medal winner is back. Jason Osborne is back in the mix. Michael Vink is here as well. This is going to be so good.
So here we go. It's time to go racing the last race field away in qualifier number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club in November. The riders making the way out from that race start. This is going to be key. Ika Morel very quickly up to speed.
Well, I can tell you, 37 riders in Category 1 today. And whilst I've mentioned Vink, Vujasin and Osborne, there are also some phenomenal other riders in here. Morel is here, Bjorklunds, Paradians, Noren. Casper Bormans is here, who took the bronze in that final effort in the World Championship. It's going to be really good to see what he can do today. Kroll, Millerstick, Lucas Hayland is in the mix here, came and joined us for the first time last week. Shuren is here, Dont Queenstonen as well, and Zach Nair as well in the mix. Or Nicky Hoog is the rider in on the screen at the moment, just keeping an eye on the back of the pack.
It's a very dangerous place to be near the back of the group, because you've got so there's such a strong possibility that somebody puts a hammer down on the front, it opens up and the gap goes. Also, you're not going to be in that draft if you drop too far back. And it's very easy to get dropped off the back. You want to be sitting in the middle of the bunch. Surely, at this stage, particularly when you're moving as fast as Category 1, 41 kilometres an hour. Fastest at the moment is on the descent down, and that is Category 2. They just hit 48, 50k an hour. Categories 3 and 4, well, they are currently making the way and climbing. Now, or the climb of the aquarium climb, where we see Category 4. They're currently at 14.1k. It starts at 12.2k. It finishes at 15.4k into the race route. That is the climb section, but you can see Category 3 have been climbing, and Deluxe at the moment has really put the hammer down. He was pressurising the front last we saw. He's doing exactly the same here in Category 3. Category 2 and 1, well, they are a little bit further back, with Category 1 just about to hit the Ferrari world. If you think this graphic is just a computer-generated graphic, I'll tell you now, it's not. If you go out, you go past the side of this in real life, out in the real world, you can see exactly this. You see that big red Ferrari building with the prancing horse on it. It is absolutely incredible to see all of this there. And Lionel Vujasin, one of those riders who was out at the World Championships, got to see all this for real. Well, actually, in person.
He did indeed, and he's in that resplendent Alpha Jaw jersey, and Vujasin taking the silver medal at that World Championships and really riding strongly at the moment. Now, Riccardo Panizza took 5th place last week in that Wollongong battle. I'm going to call it a battle because Vink and Vujasin, they battled to the end. Millerstick, the young rider, in here as well. Ollie Jones in the mix as well. Mikel Plantereau from France. Kroll, Kaminski, the riders from Poland, but we've got to push on the front at the moment. Talbot might be doing the chasing, but it looks like it's Arnie Jacobs, I think, who may be pushing on at the moment. Yep, Arnie Jacobs is the rider on pace at the moment at the front and side. Safra Zaidi, great to see him back in the mix. I do like it when Safra Zaidi is in the mix, because he is another one of the riders who really, he chases things down, he pushes on, and he's really not afraid to take it by the scruff of the neck.
So Bjorklund, Jacobs, Kroll, Safra Zaidi, Talbot, Kuysten, all really nailing it in through here. This is through the sprint, just checking to see if the rider's back off. One of the key tactics that is used is using the sprints almost as a shadow, as a deception, to show that maybe, I'm going to go for the sprint. And actually, they don't just go for the sprint, they keep on riding. And we do see that time and time again. Now, real mix of colours on the screen. On the right-hand side, in fact, we've got Category 1 in yellow, 2 in green, and 3 in blue, represented in the top 10 times through the sprint there. Taylor Gonsolin and Ben Kirk in Category 3. Patrick Karlstrom and SS in Category 2. Category 1, though, Mikhail Kaminski, just ahead of Christoph Kroll, followed by Ruben Dont, then Vidar Mehr, Johan Noren and Todd Allen Young. At the moment, though, Kaminsky is right at the front of the pack, and the speed they've gone through has done some damage.
Yeah.
It's breaking the group up. Category 2, a little bit more compact. Sal Carradine, one of our regular riders, he had a great ride last week.
He did indeed.
He was riding so strongly, and really good to see him right in that mix. He's here once again, and he's nicely tucked in this group.
He is indeed, and it's a big group with a bit of stretch on the front. At 7.1 kilometres, they are going to be coming towards the second sprint of the day, the Design District Sprint, but they're not there yet. And the pack riding really strongly, tightly together, all of them at the moment. Just shy of 50 kilometres an hour, they are rolling. Category 1 in smithereens.
Boom! It's absolutely exploded in Category 1. Mikhail Kaminsky, Christoph Kroll and Jakob Björklund at the front here with Vajesin and Power. But if you take a look at the left-hand side of the main screen, you can see the group that Mikhail Kaminsky is in. It's the leading group just going round this roundabout. Behind, there are 3s and 4s and 5 riders. There's a big pack behind them.
Oh, it's
but
nuts.
You can see the amount of damage that's already been done. 45 kilometres of racing to go. There's a total ascent of 532 metres. At the moment, they've gained 6 of those metres. Absolutely diddly squat. However, they are absolutely flying their way down here.
Oh, absolutely they are. And Category 2, the pack are rolling. It's like two very different races, and they're playing out in very different ways. So whilst Category 1 attack each other early on and form small groups across the road, Category 2, it's one big pack at the 8-kilometre mark. They're rolling towards the sprint and rolling steadily. Van Hees at 1-point-something%. X100, I've just seen at 0.8. Bjarhead at 2.6. This is a lovely easy roll. X100's heart rate 108 at the moment. Now that tells me, because I watch him week in, week out racing, and I've seen his heart rate. He's at around a max at 165.
He's got a lot of capacity.
He's got a lot of capacity to go at the moment.
Well, hey, Miss X100 in Category 2 down the road, but they're in front of this leading group at the moment. Mikhail Kaminsky, I'm not sure what he had for breakfast this morning, but I want some of it because he's in this leading group of riders. You can see the damage that they're doing to the group behind. They've just come over one of the little rises here. So you go through the Ardar HQ sprint, it dips, and then you've got another rise. This is only about a K or so. It's not particularly far. However, it's clearly done enough. It then levels off over this elevated roadway before you drop down. These elevated roadways really are a feature around the UAE region, around the Arabian region. You can see at the moment, it's go over the top here, leading group really pushing on. Safrazedi in with Björklund. Ned just about to join. Michael Vink, I think, about to make contact. We're just seeing these groups start to reform. If you are not in a group with some assistance here, you're going to be in trouble because the pace is quick. They're doing 46 kilometres, now 47 kilometres an hour on the flat as they go over the top. Category 1, really lighting it up early. Category 2, it's being lit up. But I'll tell you something, no matter what these guys are doing at the moment, they are not breaking this group up. It is still a really solid group of riders. It's starting to stretch out. It's starting to open as we head in towards the sprint. Carlston with the green skin suit going for the sprints again by the look of this. He hits this early. He's gone through in the lead. He's got the green sprint jersey, but that is risky tactics because the problem is he's not necessarily going to have the fastest time. It's more likely to be somebody coming from the back of the group to the front of the group.
Well, it is indeed, but it's a bit like the Category 2 pack have got bungee cords on each other at the moment because no one's able to get away. There's always someone bringing it back, and it's SS this time, bringing back Karlstrom as they take the right-hand corner. Karsten Mayer is there. Ivan Newkey is there. The pace might be hot, but they are all still together.
So Taylor Gonsolin with the fastest time of any of the Category 2 riders, but SS taking the points jersey because he scored the most points across the 2 sprints we've had so far in Category 2. Category 1 are just behind. They are currently rolling about 7.1k into the course. Category 2 leaders at 10.2. Category 3, well, they are currently at 16.5k into the course. They're on the descent of the from the Aquarium climb, dropping down towards the base of the Leeward Desert climb. Category 4, they are on one of my favourite parts of the course to watch and least favourite parts of the course to ride, because they are on the Leeward Desert Climb. Now, this has always been a really key part of the race route in its previous incarnations and in its current incarnation. 20k into the route, the Leeward Desert Climb is a 2-stage climb. It's steps. And because of that, getting the rhythm right is difficult. You come off a long descent into it, so your legs are like jellied. You've got that sort of, you're supposed to have recovered, you probably haven't properly. You then go along the base where it starts to pick up and the speed picks, and then you go into the climb. And the first section is steep. The average gradient across this is only 3.5%. However, you've got a long flat section in the middle, and that really is deceptive because you then kick at the end of it as well. And you can see that on the top right-hand side of the screen. Buamer at the moment, his position is represented by that yellow vertical line. That's his position on the course. The course runs from right to left, coming in from the right-hand side. You can see as they come around this left-hand turn, not too far, it's going to level out. But the gradient already has taken its toll. Riders being dropped off the back of the group. And that is one of the reasons why this, coming after that long descent, after the long climb of the aquarium climb, really, really key. Will Category 1 break up before they get there? They've still got the aquarium climb to go. The aquarium climb kicking off at 12.2 kilometres covered.
Well, Vujasin leading the group at the moment. Jacobs and Turek in the mix. The pack bigger than we last saw the chase group come together to form this group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 riders at the moment. Martins has made the mix. Kroll has made the mix.
Excuse me, practices counting on
pack.
live
I
on
know.
air.
Well, whilst I'm learning how to count, I can tell you there are 44 riders still in this category 2 leading pack because I checked them when they went through the sprint last time.
So those sprints that we're talking about, you can catch up with all of the results on there. Go to www.mywhoosh.com. Go to the results. You'll see that there are live results at the moment for the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club today in the men's race. And you can catch up. You can click onto each of the individual sections of the course. You can click onto Category 2 and see how your sail Betty has done on the sprint so far. You'll get to find out how he does on the climb. They're about to head into that climb section itself. They've already done a rise out away from the Design District Sprint. They're now onto the timed section. Now, this is it's not the entirety of the climb. However, this is the timed section of the climb. And this is where, as you get closer to the top, you're going to see those gaps go.
Yeah, you are indeed. And this is the leading group in Category 1. And the gap now 13 seconds back to the chase group. And it is a big chase group. The chase group now going underneath the green banner, signifying the start of the sprint. The leaders going underneath the banner, signifying the end of the sprint. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, I can confirm 10 riders in that leading group in Category 1.
So 10 riders leading in Category 1, not touching the fastest time of Taylor Gonsolin, again taking the fastest time in the Category 3 race through there. SS going through in the Category 2 race, Moreno, Besedi, Clays, Brun, Fell, Miss X100, Stasinski and Milostic, but hardly separated by anything once you get to Moreno back there. And that is really indicative of a very close race. Now, the front of Category 1 here, Emma, we have got a breakaway group. 10 riders up here. Arnie Jacobs is in here. Turek is in here as well. Paradias. Now, it's a bit of a who's who up here. We don't often see a gap opening like this. Kowalski and Wojciech, the duo, the tandem of riders at the moment, who can see the leaders in Category 1 in their rear view mirror coming up behind them. It's not a nice sight when you see somebody catching you from, what was it, a 5-minute stop. But Category 1 today, that race has broken.
Yeah.
And it's broken already. That's not what anybody would have expected.
Well, I have to say, it's a big race field for Category 1. 37 riders on the start sheets. You know, it is a big field with some really class riders. And these riders, week in, week out, are racing each other. And they're working out different tactics regularly as to how to win the race. You know, the prize money goes down for the top 5. And these riders all want to be there. So they try different strategies and different techniques and different tactics to get there. And, we always say don't make an assumption when you look at a race route. The assumption you may well have made was actually we're probably all going to be pretty much together till the 34-kilometre mark. Well, you're not, because somebody looked at the race route and went, well, I'm not taking 37 riders in with 10k to go.
And also, it could well be that they're trying to make it life hard for some of those riders in the chasing group behind. 17 seconds, the last time gap between the leaders in Category 1 to the chasing group behind. Meanwhile, absolute living legend that is Ivan Yuki, one of the nicest guys you can ever meet at a bike club anywhere in the world, on your screens at the moment. Ivan, I want to personally say thank you very much for showing us around the Abu Dhabi Cycling Club. Ivan, one of the coaches there, he is a phenomenal rider, and he was on such great form last week.
Well, he was indeed, but he's in the mix today, and this is going to be a hard race because he's got Peter Millerstick on the front here, Phil Graves, SS, John Brune, Bruce Bird, David Nitko, all in the mix here. They're pushing on the aquarium climb, and whilst the gradient is not strong, it is starting to drop one or two riders off the back of the group.
It is, and it's the pressure being put on the front here on the aquarium climb. This is a tricky climb. Now, as we go over the top of the climb, there is a little window to get back on if you are not distanced too far, but not too far. We're talking 2 or 3 seconds. We are not talking much more than that. Anything longer than that, you're not going to get on. Now, the gap is more than 2 or 3 seconds. At the last time check, 17 seconds back from our leading group of riders, 10 riders at the front, and the chasing group behind. But this is the first real test. The first time we put these riders up one of our categorized climbs, the aquarium climb. Now, in this leading group, Noren, Kaminsky, Turek, they are all class riders in there. They are riders who we wouldn't necessarily expect to be in a breakaway because they would be able to take it to a finish.
Well, they would indeed, and it is really interesting to see. Now we're back in with Amar at the moment, and this is a more interesting group now coming up to the 24.1 kilometres. It's a smaller group now, and last check, 15 riders in the leading group in Category 4. Amar on the front, Calderon is there, Dadson, Cadabona, Winfield, Cadiz, White and Cridland. Now Cridland riding strongly, took 5th place last week. It's getting smaller. There were 65 riders on the start sheets. There are now 15 riders leading Category 4.
So let's see what happens. We'll jump in with all of our race categories as much as is possible. 4 categories on race route. 219 riders, was it, Emma, on the start sheets? 219 riders to follow. So obviously we can't quite manage to follow absolutely everybody all of the time. That's a little bit of a physical impossibility. We'll try and bring you as much race action as we can. Category 1, well, the leaders had really pushed into that climb, starting to open up a gap. Category 2, the leaders going over the top of the climb. SS right up there with Mr. X100, his UAE clan teammate. They are leading over the top in Category 2. In Category 1, Michael Vink, Lionel Vujassin are on the move. They are putting the pressure down.
Well, they're 2 riders who were side by side for a large amount of the racing in Australia last week. They're in Arabia today on this Tel Morib route, and it is indeed Vink in 1, Vujassin in 2. Kroll comes up onto the wheel of Vujassin as Vujassin gets up and out the saddle. He's dancing on those pedals on our screen at the moment. The gradient is only 3%, but this group now absolutely making the most of it.
You've got 7 riders clear. A really good workable number to fight off the pack behind. You go on the climb and you go on the attack. If that is not a statement of, I am feeling good, and I can solo if you can't hold my wheels to the finish, I don't know what is.
Well,
Vink at the moment really laying it down to people.
Zaidi just come across to the group. So the 4 riders at the front, Zaidi, Vink, Kroll and Vujassin. Mikhail Kaminsky now closing the gap down. Jasper Paradians coming too. Paradians took 3rd place last week. He's also a rider on some really good form.
I'm going to be really interested to see what happens to this gap on the climb, because we've got so much action. Now, normally, attacks and then reformings of groups doesn't actually make for very quick riding overall. It's usually better to sit at a constant pace that is relatively quick rather than doing a super fast sprint attack and then back off. So going into the climb, category 1 was 17 seconds down. What they're going to be going over the top from the leading group to the second group on the road. Meanwhile, categories 4, 3, and 2 well into the race route. 25.5 kilometers already covered for category 4, 23.7 for category 3, 17.3 for category 2, and category 1 already at 14.5k for the leaders at the moment.
Well, interesting. The largest group rolling on the road at the moment is indeed the category 2 pack. 44 riders still in the category 2 pack. It is absolutely huge and really interesting to see because they are so tight. Look at that, 5 riders across the road there as they continue to roll at the 17.5 kilometre mark. They are on the descent and coming towards the base of the descent of the aquarium climb. They're going to go into the Leeward desert climb shortly. That's shorter, it's sharper, and it may well drop the group a little, but I don't think it's going to drop it a lot.
Oh, I love it when Emma makes a prediction. I'm going to predict something. I'm going to predict SS is going to go for this climb. We said earlier on that he was not afraid to be proactive and really aggressive in the early stages of the race. He's currently holding the sprint jersey and he's holding the climb jersey, but we've only done one climb. He's still got more to come. But I think he's going out to try and take as many as he can. Can he get the whole collection? Because, of course, there's the yellow skin suit at the end. If you take the win in the race as well, we've a long way to go in all of our race categories to get to that and a lot of climbing to do. But in category 1, the pressure that has been put on the front has broken the group. This was 10 riders strong. This is not 10 riders anymore. You can see the leaders on your screen. Vink, Kroll, Vujassin at the moment are the 3 who've just gone over the top. They are being chased, but the gaps have opened up. Haradins, Martins, Jacobs, and Noren chasing the leaders at the moment. And it looks like the first 5 riders going over the top in category 1, 1.1 seconds separating their time up there. Now, look at that gap. 15 seconds slower for Martins and Jacobs. They've dropped out of the lead group. They've lost 15 seconds. What's it going to be to the main bunch? It's absolutely all over the road today.
Well, it is all over the road today. And Vink Vujassin, Kroll Kaminsky and Safra Zaidi, I think, will be the 5 riders running into the finish. They'll run in towards the Tel Marib climbs, and that's where I think that group of 5 will split. There's very little to separate them now. And Well,
I've got a very different prediction to you.
No. Because I think there's very little that can really shake the group unless, well... I was going to say unless someone really wants to go for it, but I think it's a really select group already. And I think Kaminsky and Vujassin, well, those 2 are teammates. I think they're going to support each other, both on that Alpha Jaw squad. Vujassin was 2nd last week. Kaminsky was 4th. Kroll is strong. He's in the mix. He's not going to want to drop out of that top 5. Vink is there. And, I just think that's how it's going to play because Safra Zaidi's not going anywhere.
No, I'm going to make my prediction. Michael Vink is going to continue to attack constantly from start to finish, and he's going to end up going clear with 1 rider, with 2 climbs to go.
Ooh.
That's my prediction. He will manage to shake them off on the next climb. And then by the time we get to Tel Marib climb, he will be clear with 1, which leaves us to 2 climbs. 1 categorized, 1 isn't. Okay, 4 categories out on the road. It's not just our category 1 riders. Categories 2, 3, and 4 well on the race route. Now, the leaders in category 2 are on the Leeward Desert climb. And this climb finishes at 21.6. We saw our early categories making the way up there in category 4. They are well clear of the category 1 leaders at the moment, who are at 17.6k on the left-hand side of your screen. And at the moment, how many riders can you see on your screen in category 1, Emma?
2.
Okay. I'll say nothing else.
Vink and Vujassin. Well,
they are just gone clear. 2 riders.
Well, can I tell you something? If they repeat what they did last week, and I'll tell you something, Lana Vujassin is going to be digging so deep because he's going to want to reverse the Vink Vujassin 1-2 last week to a Vujassin Vink 1-2 this week.
And Vujassin, a regular rider all the way through the years. Good to see Michael Vink coming back.
He did message me and tell me he's going to do quite a few over the winter.
Excellent. We will see how he's going to go. The teams need to work together. See, this is one of the things for me where they've really missed a trick because Michael Vink at the moment, today, he's not in a team. He's a solo rider. You've got the Alpha Jaw squad, Chirek, Tolbert, Vajassin, Kaminsky, Jones. You've got hard to guard. They've got, in theory, 5 riders, although I haven't seen Jason Osborne taken to the start line. Entered but not started.
I've not seen him.
And that is that means that at the moment, the front of the racing category 1 is the same as last week. And I think if you could predict one thing, if you're looking at the tactics, look at the tactics that happened last week.
Well, hold
Vink
on
went on the attack.
Let me just say, though, Paradians and Panizza were 2 riders who were in the top 5 last week. This week, it's Kroll and Safrazadi who have replaced them. Kaminsky, Vujasin and Vink are the same riders who were in the top 5 last week.
Well, we're going to have to see how it plays out in all of our categories. We're back in with Category 2. This was the big column, the cavalry charge of riders making their way up and through. They're on to Part 2, or the second and steepest section of the Leeward Desert Climb. They did the first longer section out from the depression, the end of the descent from the Aquarium Climb, climbing up the first part. It leveled. They're on to this second section. They're going to go round this right-hand turn. It's not quite 180 degrees, but it's pretty close. And as you go round, you'll see the archway there at the top of the climb. Meanwhile, Vink and Vujassin are at the start, 10 seconds to Kroll, and at the moment, 21 seconds to Noren.
Well, it's amazing the pace these riders are moving at the moment in Category 1 and how they're closing down the earlier starting Category 2 race field already, while Vink and Vujassin go underneath, and then the 3 chasers, Kaminsky, Paradians and Kroll. Really interesting to see. Sorry, Kaminsky, Safrazadi and Kroll. Paradians was last week. But on the front at the top of the Category 2 race, X100 and Hammond go over at the front of the group, and they are leading a group of Category 2 riders. 31 riders now in this Category 2 group.
And you can see top left-hand side of your screen, the fastest time at the moment, 3 minutes 33.293 from Mr. X100. His teammate SS sitting in 4th position. Simmons and Hammond in between. Then it's Gates, Carradine, Spina, Bankston and Khan Kane behind. So at the moment in that Leeward Desert Climb, the fastest time being set by Category 2. Will that last? No, because Category 1 are already on that climb and the racing is on. Vujassin and Vink have the gap. Kaminsky is trying to bridge across to them. He wants to get back in touch. He knows the express train is moving and there is a line of riders behind trying to get in touch. But at the moment, it's Vujassin and Vink leading the way up this climb. If we take a look behind, you can see the chase is on from Kaminsky. He's sat down. He's really spinning this along. He's really got to nail this down. Can he get the gap back? I think he can, but will he have done too much? Remember, it's going to level off, and the leaders will pick up the pace and speed and distance before. Well, this is the problem. He's going to come up on here, and they're going to start to get some distance. And look at Mikhail Kaminsky. He's really, really pushed everything into going there. Kaminsky, teammate of Vujassin, trying to get on, but Vink saw the danger of having 2 riders from the Alpha Jaw squad with him, and he's just putting the pressure on. It's Vink on the front. Vujassin sitting on his wheel doing no work, trying to give a chance for Kaminsky to get across. It's not happening.
No, it's not. And whilst the plan might have been there for Vujassin and Kaminsky has not made the juncture. In fact, what got down to 3 seconds is now back to 15 because Kaminsky has just gone pop. Well, that leaves Vink and Vujassin yet again. And I think this is the 2-man breakaway we are going to see for the ride now. Well, who is going to better the other is going to be really interesting. They've got over 20 kilometres of racing still to go.
At which stage can I say I told you so?
You can't. So Category 2 on the right-hand side of your screen, the group has gone from 44 to 31. Nitko, Clays, Graves, Carradine, SS, Van He, all on the front here now. They're coming up for the 24-kilometre mark. They are over the Aquarium Climb. They are over the Leeward Desert Climb. They are running now through towards the Tel Marib Sprint, which will take them into the Tel Marib Climb. But that will not come for another 10 kilometres yet. So David Nitko on the screen at the moment. You can see him part and parcel of the group. Clays is the rider with him, and Ospina. They're putting the pressure on here and they're ensuring the pace is not easy. But this transition is not as technical as the start.
It's not. It's a relatively flat section on the way through. We're just watching Walter Clay's on our screens, and I'm slightly distracted by the fact that he has one of the best kits ever designed in the peloton, which is the Mape kit. Absolutely fantastic jersey, the Mape jersey. Mape actually make glue to hold your tiles down on the floor. That's what they do.
Can I just say that's a really contentious phrase you've just used there, the best kit ever made, because I'll tell you something, there's a lot of really good kits out there.
I know, but it's an absolute classic. It's so distinctive and highly sought after as well. And do you know what bikes did they ride? Colnagos.
Did they?
They were very dominant, much like the UAE team are now. They're very similar in terms of their dominance back then. I mean, they would place a number of riders up there. Now,
I still can't get over Henry East's skin suit he wore the other day.
Yeah, please don't go back and look at that on the YouTube feed.
Oh, it was so good.
Okay, into the action. Bruce Bird and Andrew Downey on the move at the moment. Van Heat and Nick Cohen done behind.
He is indeed. And Downey pushing on here, Bruce Bird with him, and they are indeed pushing on. But Van Heat is really putting the pressure on the front of the group, wanting to bring them back. It's just a 2-second gap at the moment. Graves is there as well. Neither of these two riders wanting to let them go. So the riders here in Category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen, it's Vyasin and Vink. They're having a party for two at the moment. They really have got a massive gap now back to the chase, and Johan Noren now leading the chase, but over 40 seconds back.
That's a big old gap, 40 seconds on this course. You need a long mountain to get that back. You need somebody to blow their socks off on the way through. Now, Phil Graves with Nico, with Betty and last ditch at the moment. They've just got Bird in front, who's winding it on the front of the minute. 6.3 watts per kilo. Going to be interesting to see if he can continue on. Peter Milostich and Josale Betty. When the going gets tough, when things get on the sharp end of the racing, when there's moments of when races are decided, there's moments where you've got to be right place, right time. This is one of those really in Category 2, because this isn't an innocuous section of course, and yet the pressure is on and it is shedding riders out of the back in Category 2. They're at 26k covered for the leaders in Category 2, 23.8 for Category 1. They're at the top of your screen. On the bottom of your screen, bottom left-hand side, 32.1k covered for the Category 3 leaders at the moment. They haven't yet reached the base of the Tel Marie climb, which is at 34k, and that's only 300 metres in front of our Category 4 leaders.
Well, take a look at that. You can see on the top right-hand corner of the screen of the Category 4 race. That's the gradient coming. There's a small descent. It's about 1.3% at the moment downhill as they run into the base. That's the polka dot banner. Emma is there, Rooney, Morgan, and it is about to go skywards 10% as we drop back in with Category 2, and the attack is on there.
It is Mr. X100, Matthias Van Heet, Graves, Nico, all taking in turns to have a go here. At the moment, Mr. X100 just trying to wind it up on the front. He's got the leader of the sprints and the climb jersey on his team, on the UAE climb team at the moment. And he just wants to try and keep the riders keeping the pace high. He doesn't want to let it drop down. He wants to keep the racing hard at the moment. And that is going to be really, really interesting. I'm not sure I'd want to be doing too much attacking when you're coming into the Tel Marie climb, because the effort required for the Tel Marie climb is 800 meters long. You climb 82 meters, so that is over 10% gradient. For me, that is a flat-out sprint.
But we have seen X100 over the races give himself running room, give himself distance, give himself daylight on the chasing pack. He knows it's going to be explosive, yeah. Because he knows it's going to be an explosive attack on the Tel Marie climb. And he knows he hasn't got the top-end power that some of the other riders in that group have got. So the more distance he can give himself, the better. And do you know what? If riders chase him, they're wearing themselves out and they're not going to be able to hit those high powers or as high powers on the climb. So really smart riding, really smart racing. Jonas Bjarhead, Phil Graves, all in the mix here. But the gap now only around 1 second as the group is coming pulling back, but it is stretching. So at the moment, X100 being closed down by Phil Graves, Jonas Bjarhed, Matthias Van Heijos, or Betty. Well, these are names who can all win this race. And it's really, really interesting to see who's in the mix as they come towards the 28-kilometre mark on this race. As Matt said, they've still got a significant way to run until they get to that climb at 34 kilometres. But this really is about, can we drop anybody on the run? Can we make this group smaller? Because at 31 riders, it's like a full race field. Well, Bjarhed in the mix. You can see him on the screens at the moment in the garage. The bike's all racked up in the background, the ladder overhead, the look of concentration on his face and the effort being used to close this gap down. To go with Phil Graves. The three of them now looking like they are a couple of seconds clear of the chase behind. So X100, Bjarhed and Graves, all the three riders together. Now the question is, who's going to push on? Who will continue to attack? Will they sit up? Well, X100 just put in a kick at 7 watts per kilo, but it is indeed Betty now coming across. And this is a great group of 4, but the gap I don't think is big enough for the 4 to go clear at the moment. But the gap in Cat 1, well, Vink and Vujasin, look at that, it's 51 seconds back to Noren, Jacobs, Paradians and Kroll. Kaminsky is in there as well. It's a seriously strong chase group, but boy, are they a long way back.
Can I say I told you so yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Anything can happen. This is bike racing. However, it's looking more and more likely that the two leaders will stay away. It's always an interesting race finish between the two. Interesting to see who is strong. I'll tell you something. Michael Vink's return to the Sunday Race Club really has put the cat amongst the pigeons. It's really upset the apple cart. We can think of lots more metaphors for what's going on. However, it means that there are the number of prizes that the riders are fighting out for behind are lessened, because remember, 5 sets of prize money per category in each of our race categories. Category 4, Category 3, Category 2, and Category 1. Now, really, really interesting to see how this rolls. How do we deal with this coming up in the future? Because if this is the pattern that's been set now, qualification number 3 and the finals are going to be very interesting. Remember, the finals and the team competition is on time, so riders getting a big gap like they've got there is going to really affect that team result as well. That's Category 1. Category 2, much closer. Lots more riders in contention. Peter Milostic, Marcin Trzejanowski, Matthias Van He, John Brun, Carl Suspin, all really good runners, all really good punchers, all really good explosive riders. And because they made the aquarium climb in the bunch, they got over the Leeward Desert climb in the bunch, those are the 2 long climbs. 3.2k for the aquarium climb, 2k for the Leeward Desert climb. All the climbs that are left, the longest climb that's left is 1k. You've got 1k, you've got 800 meters, and you've got that little bump in between, which doesn't, it might technically have a name. I don't know if Emma knows the name in her encyclopedic set of notes of the little kicker in between the Telmarib climb and the Telmarib Dune climb.
Oh, I don't know the name of it, but I do have the stats on it.
Okay. It's short and sharp and steep. Telmarib, so the longest of the last 3 climbs is the last one, which is the Telmarib Dune climb. It's 1k and 10%, 10.06%. Then it's a Telmarib climb, which is 800 meters and 10%. And then the one in the middle.
The one in the middle is 800 meters in length with an average gradient of 6.4.
Wow. Okay. Going to be very interesting to see how our riders deal with that as they go into it. It's basically on the side of the Oasis. As you go through from Telmarib climb, you go through past the Oasis.
My goodness, we've got Oasis, the Venga Boys, and Take That.
I think you're thinking of some very, very bad and cross. Did
you just say Oasis, the Venga Boys, and Take That are all very, very bad bands?
No, I didn't, but it
Was
could
that where
be.
you were going?
No, I would hate to have Liam Gallagher bump into me on the dark night. Thank you very much. Okay, on with the racing. Mistakes 100 in action again with Peter Milostic. The two riders now trying to open the gap up here. This is a good move. 31.21k. They get to 34k, they're going to hit that Telmarib climb. If they can get a gap going, get a small group away, they are limiting the number of explosive climbs that they're going to take over there. You certainly wouldn't want to take a sprinter into that last run to the finish, because from the Telmarib climb, it's 5.3k down to the finish with some bumps en route. Not the easiest run into the finish to take. If you've got some really good explosive riders with you, that's going to make life hard. Trajanowski's definitely amongst those. Meanwhile, back in category 1, Vink has caught Popovic and Galuska. He's gone through the group, and at the moment, Lionel Vujassin is just sitting at the back of this little train of riders, because he had that classic thing. The leading rider came up on towards the end of the group, making the way up in and through, and then Vujassin also then caught onto the back, and Vujassin has now managed to get back up with the race leader. 2 leaders in category 1. The gap back 53 seconds. 53 seconds. That is a huge gap on the way through. That is not going to be brought back. It does mean that the battle behind realistically is now a fight for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
It is indeed, but it is seriously impressive riding at the moment. So the riders pushing on, and Vink and Vujassin going underneath the sprint banner. It's the final sprint banner of the day. Vink and Vujassin going through. Now, this is going to be really interesting, Matt, because they're in now with a group of 3 Category 2 riders. And if I was any of those Category 2 riders, I'd be wanting to hang on the coattails of Vink and Vujassin. The Telmarib sprint, 13.772 seconds. Taylor Gonsoulin.
Fastest time so far. And he's been going for those sprints. You've seen him time and time again at the top of the sprints, top of the table, hoovering up the points in Category 3, scratching, interestingly, in Category 4 with a fast time. But then you look at the riders in Category 2, Mistakes 100, SS, Betty, Clays, Bankston, Winfield, they're all at the front of the race. Interesting to see how that runs and where our Category 1 riders are relative to each other. Again, we go into another group. Vink again keeps the pressure on. Well, is he attacking, or is it just he's on the front into the wind? Say he's holding 6.5 watts per kilo. He does 6.5 watts per kilo with the draft, which then accelerates him up. And it's not that he's attacking, it's just physics that mean he attacks.
Attacking. I think actually what he's doing is he's utilising the riders for protection and out of sight, out of mind. And if there are riders in the way, you get caught out. But Vujassin, I think, using the draft of the other riders really, really well. And he's right on the coattails now. They are back together again. They are continuing to motor, and they are really motoring. They've got just under 14 kilometres of racing still to go, and no one is letting up from that duo at the moment.
So Category 1 duo on the move, just over 30k just in front. You can see the leaders in Category 2, 3 riders on the front. Meanwhile, Category 3 and 4 further down the road, but at the moment it's Vink versus Vujassin. They're just coming on to Krasnich, and again you can see he just hits that draft. He goes through past with the draft, and that extra little acceleration when you are on the limit. I've done this in a road race. I've been sat behind somebody. I've done it on MyWhoosh as well. You sit behind somebody and you are on your absolute limit, and then the person that you're following gets that little benefit of drafting somebody for even a second or so, and you are in trouble because you're already on your limit. You can't afford them to accelerate.
Well, Category 2 now coming on to the Telmarib climb. And it's a group of 4, So X100, Nico, Havo and Milastic. The first group didn't stick. Now there's another group, but the chase group is not far behind. They're also underneath the polka dot banner, and the screen is going to light up with those red chevrons from the front group, but also from the chase group. And the question is, can the chase group come back on the climb? The front of the pack is absolutely motoring. They're starting to stretch the back of the group off of the back, but the Telmarib climb is not long. It is just 800 meters, but we are now going to see multiple climbs over the next few kilometers, and it really is going to shake up that category 2 race. It was 33 riders till we saw that attack from X100. We saw Graves et al. Go with him. They got pulled back into the group, and another group of riders went, but we're now seeing riders come across the gap. So the category 2, 4 riders were on their own. Nicholas Hammond from France closing the gap down. Great racing, great riding. This group at the front, the numbers now swelling.
I love it when we have just different tactics across the race fields. Now, Vink's gap opening to Vajasin. As you can see, left-hand side of your screen, starting to try and solo clear from Vajasin, who's chasing, giving it absolutely everything. Krasnich is sure with him. Right-hand side of your screen, the furthest group of leaders on the road. Category 4 here, Emma, really hard pushing. And this is, it's really telling, isn't it? We're at 39.4K at the moment. We're on the last climb that's categorized. And whilst it's not a flat run into the finish, and there are some lumps and bumps on the way, taking this group down is clearly a mission for the riders on the front.
Yeah, it is indeed, and really important for them at the moment. Well, taking Lionel Vujasin down was the job of Michael Vink. He's now 6 seconds clear, and they are not yet at the Tel Marib climb. It's coming. It's not going to be long. You can see it on the top right-hand corner of your screen. This is the run down into it. But Michael Vink is going to hit it first in category 1. Vujasin is going to hit it second. Vink, well, the question is, has he done enough now to stay away? Matt is nodding in the studio next to me. In category 2, they've gone over the top of the Tel Marib climb. Hammond goes over in 1 with Buster, Ospina, Thiem, Bengston, Khan, Gombe, Graves, Keradine, Biarhead, X100, Milastic, Brune, Bird, Havo, Nitko, Danny, Stalzinski. Those are the riders towards the 4 of the race, but they are not all together. Well, I tell you something, Michael Vink is on a charge because he is not far behind the riders in the Category 2 race who have just gone over the climb. They've gone over the summit. They're on the other side. Vink and Vujasin are already on the climb behind them, and Vujasin can still see Michael Vink. In fact, he's putting out better numbers right now. So the gap at 9 seconds. This race is not over.
Not even close, is it? It's not even close to over. And it's just, you can just see the way that I think even when you've got a rider like Michael Vink off the front in Category 1, behind there's so much racing going on. Vujasin's at 9 seconds here. You can see the gap here. And look at Lionel Vujasin, that jersey undone. He's giving it absolutely everything. He does not want to let Vink go too far down the road. He's got a decent gap behind him. He's
got a huge gap behind him.
He should have enough to be able to time trial his way to the finish. But remember, these guys still have 10K to go. The leaders on the race route itself, Category 4, they've got 5K to go. You know, it's half the distance. It's a lot easier to solo or take a pair of riders 5K than it is, and when the majority of it's downhill, than it is to try and do 10K. I mean, Vujasin in all sorts of pain here. I'll tell you something, he is holding Vink at the moment, if not slightly clawing him back.
Well, can I just tell you, this is such a different race in Category 1 from the last couple of editions we've had on this course. Qualifier 3 in June, it was Kaminsky, Noren and Safrazadi. Those 3 came across the line within 0.7 of a second. In Qualifier 3 in July, it was Vujasin, Knudsen, Jones and Safrazadi. 0.6 of a second separated them.
It's really, really changed things and shaken this up. We see this when we saw that when Osborne came in to the Sunday Race Club, coming back there from racing on the continent. Michael Vink has returned. He's really shaking things up as well. And it's great to see the changing in racing as the composition of those race fields change. Now, Vink goes over the top ahead of Vujasin, 12 seconds, the current live time gap. Let's take a look at that in terms of times on here. Vink, 2 minutes. 21 seconds. But interestingly, Category 2, Hammond and Buster going faster than Vujasin on that climb.
That's where Category 2 closed the gap on the leaders on the breakaway. So I'm not surprised because Hammond and Buster were part of that charge onto the leading group of 4. Vujasin 1.5 of a second back on Vink. Well, 1.5 of a second back for Vujasin, but Ospina, Thiem, Bengston, Khan, Kayin, Gombert and Graves rounding out the top 10 at the moment on the Telmarine climb. Let's not forget these results are live. And the rest of the Category 1 race field, in terms of that big chasing group that was a long way back, are not yet through the finish line. In fact, you can see them on the screen in front of you because the group is coming up the climb at the moment, being led by Jakobs. So Arnie Jakobs, Mikhail Kaminski, Jasper Paradians, Christoph Kroll, all in the mix here. This is the chase group in the Category 1 race. They're chasing Vink and Vujasin. This is a race for 3rd, 4th and 5th. And it's a big group of riders on the climb at the moment. So Kroll, Paradians, Jakobs and Kaminski go through. 4 riders chasing. So 2 down the road, 4 riders chasing. And there you go. You can see that's what the story tells you. And the story tells you that Christoph Kroll has set the fastest time on the Telmarine climb, 11 seconds quicker than Michael Vink. So Kroll, Paradians and Kaminski all going up the climb 11 seconds quicker than Michael Vink. Well, it is really interesting what's happening behind in the race, as well as what's at the front of the race. And those segments really giving us that story as it unfolds.
I love the snapshot that they give. It's a window into the world. Now, Michael Vink making his way across the oases, making his way across this bridge. He goes into that little bit of a kicker. And it's short, it's sharp, it's not as steep as the Telmarine climb or the Telmarine Dune climb. However, it is going to be enough to test his legs. Or will he come back anymore? Vujasin at the moment at 11 seconds. Kroll and co chasing, but a long way down. Meanwhile, at the very front of the race, Robinson and Cadiz have 10 seconds on Brian White. They've got 19 seconds on a Bello and a Lucia. This is going to be a real interesting fight as they make their way through. There are 6 riders in contention for 5 places in terms of prize money at the moment in the Category 4 race. But behind those riders, they're all really, really close. Category 3, now you can see that we've got the leaders on our screen at the moment. They have got a bit of a gap back to the chasing group behind. And realistically, with 2K to go, this is going to be a fight for the line. It's likely to be a sprint. In the moment, though, the pressure is on. You can see Fenderich and Ridley really trying to rip this group apart as they come in towards those final few K. In Category 2, top right-hand side of your screen, they're just short 6K to go. They're on the climb as Michael Vink in Category 1 goes up at this little section. He's got lots of riders he's catching here. In Category 2, Vink is catching riders of the class of Karlstrom, Benedetti, Simmons, Fell, Darn and Howeiler are all seeing the Michael Vink Express train blast its way through. At the moment, you don't want to be stood at the edge of the platform on the curb edge as he comes past, because my goodness me, there's some serious slipstream coming off this man. He's flying.
He's just absolutely motoring. And like you say, Matt, this is a class group of riders who started 5 minutes ahead of him that he has caught. Cam Winfield is just 35 seconds up the road. Ivan Nuki, 27 seconds up the road. I think their job today is to stay clear of Michael Vink, and I know they'll have him on their radar, and staying clear of him will be absolutely one of the key objectives of their race today.
It certainly is, and I think it's one of those markers, isn't it? Even if you're not at the very front of a race field, you want to keep the people who are coming behind. If they're in you got the elites coming behind you, or the seniors coming behind you when you're it's staying clear.
Well, the Category 2 race field are on that Telmarine Dune, but Category 1 are coming across the line. It's Daniel Cadiz and James Robinson who come through. Brian White is further back. Abello is there too. Wow.
Cadiz takes the win here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club here in Category 4. He pulls on the yellow skin suit. It's Cadiz, Robinson and White. Abello makes his way in through the line as well. Fantastic racing in Category 4 as always. We got category 3 on our screen. They're into the last 700 meters already. The rider's flying in this last K. So we've got Fenderich. He was attacking on the climb. Ridley and Oyer. That banner is going to come quick. Who's going to wind it up first? Ridley starts to stretch his legs. Nobody's going at silly watts per kilo. Moreno's coming up 5 behind, but he's 3 seconds back. Will he be able to pull them back? Is he going to catch them napping? It's 2 seconds now. Moreno is coming up pace. He's at 6 watts per kilo. He's about to come up onto them. He's got to go straight over the top if he wants to take this. Now the sprint is unleashed. Ridley goes at 13 watts per kilo. He's kicked hard. He's opening up the gap. Has he got enough? Oyer's behind him. Then Fenderich. Then Moreno. 4 riders in contention. Can Ridley hold on? Oyer's coming over the top. Is Oyer taking it? Surely that's Oyer's. Oh, what a finish. It's Henrik Oyer from Conrad Fenderich, then Lewis Ridley, then Johan Moreno. Wow, timing to perfection.
That was phenomenal.
It was.
It was absolutely brilliant. Well, category 3 really giving us some phenomenal sprinting today. That was anybody's. Any of those 4 riders 100 meters out could have taken that, but it was Oyer from Fenderich, Ridley and Moreno. Well, at the moment in category 2, it's X100 and Ospina who are side by side, and they're clear of the group behind, and the group behind spilt down the road being led by Peter Millerstick, but he's a number of seconds back because these 2 riders, Ospina and X100, they're on the descent. They're at 40.5 kilometers into the race. They're coming up to 4K to go. They don't want the group to catch behind, but well, I think the group behind are going to be absolutely desperate to bring the 2 breakaway riders back.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Here we go. This is the descent. This rolling terrain really makes life difficult. Mr. X100 just goes over the top. He's got Mohammed Mukhtari. He's just gone past Datsun as well. They could try and keep with him here, the category 4 riders, but it's a dangerous tactic. They're more likely to blow. Spina, though, tracking Mr. X100. They're on the right-hand side of your screen. They have that tenuous gap as they come over this climb. They're going to drop down. It'll climb up again. So Mr. X100 is in that polka dot skin suit. He has taken the most points on the climbs, on the 4 climbs on that way through. And it's the same skin suit as worn by Michael Vink, but Vink has a number on. But it's looking close between Vink and Vujasin, but I'm looking at the time gap, 13 seconds.
It's not really a hugely different time gap to the last time when we were on the Tel Marib climb.
It's not, but we've got to remember, Vink is going to go over the top first and then pick up that pace.
Well, yes, but it is going to be so interesting because the gap is not really changing. Vink and Vujasin are sat at around 11 seconds, and they have been for the last 4 kilometres. Well, Vink goes up and sees a polka dot banner first, signifying the top of the final climb segment here. This is the Tel Marib June climb. It was 10.04% average gradient, and he goes over the top before Lionel Vujasin, the rider in second place. And you're right, Matt, the descent really exaggerating the time gap at the moment, but don't worry, it will all come back together again when they hit the bottom, and we'll get a really clear time gap here. But Vujasin goes over. Now, what is interesting is who climbed the quickest. And well, Vujasin went quicker than Vink on the climb by 3 seconds. So Vujasin climbing stronger than Vink at the moment, but the fastest climber up the Tel Marib June climb today, Mr. X100, 3 minutes 12 seconds. Vujasin 0.8 of a second back. Ospina 1.6. Vink 3.2. Then Millerstick, Thiem, Havo, Oyer, Ridley and Bird across those category 2 and category 3 riders. But, and I'm going to say but, because the last time we looked at some climb results on the Tel Marib climb, the chasers in category 1 went the quickest.
Well, let's see if the Tel Marib June climb replicates that. Meanwhile, in category 2, just in with SS, you can see he has Bessie about 13 seconds in front, but he's the next rider to see the Michael Vink locomotive coming. You can see Vink stamping on those pedals. He's coming at 5.5 watts per kilo at the moment, and he's going to come up onto the heels of the man who's taken the green skin suit of the best sprinter in Category 2, and that is SS. So Vink comes up on the shoulder of SS. Will SS try and go with him? I think you're going to see a little bit of a kick here. He's going to try and use that slipstream for as long as he can, but it's so difficult. It's like just trying to grab on to a moving vehicles coming past. Don't recommend it to anybody at all. So difficult to do, so dangerous, and so easy to end up in the red zone. Vink and Vujasin, currently the gap 16 seconds again. They're both at the base on the way down at the bottom of the climb.
Well, they are indeed. But on the climb, I can tell you, Jasper Paradines and Mikhail Kaminsky have just gone through and set the fastest time on the Telmarie Dune climb.
So the very final climb, the chasers moving faster than the two escapees. However, I think that time gap going to be too big for them to pull back. Meanwhile, lead of Category 2. These should be our next finishers coming into the finish before anybody else. Although I'm going to caveat that with this is subject to whether Michael Vink continues to accelerate any quicker than he's going now. So, in the lead of Category 2, you have Carlos Ospina and Peter Milostic. Mr. X100 in the polka dot skin suit of the best climber in Category 2. His teammate SS in the best sprinter of Category 2. Just with about 3 seconds gap to make up on this little bit of a roller. And Theme is not far behind, as is Havo as well. Havo is in there. They are good. They have the possibility to come back. We still got 1.2k to go.
We have indeed, and we know what it means in terms of riders watching each other and waiting for the sprint. We nearly saw the Category 3 race get rolled, so we nearly saw Johan Moreno come up and over the 3 riders in the lead because they were sat napping, watching each other and playing too much cat and mouse. Are we going to see that in Category 2? Because Ospina and Milostic are 3 seconds clear of X100. Theme and Havo now just dropping off a little bit further because Ospina and Milostic have picked up the pace. They've got 700 meters to go. This is it. This is the run for the line in Category 2, and it's a 2-rider sprint at the moment. X100's on the charge behind, but he's 3 seconds back, and I don't think he's going to catch these two. So Carlos Ospina, Peter Milostic, Ospina in the striped hat, Milostic in the white helmet. These riders coming in, but X100's already opened the sprint behind. But these two can see the UCI banner at the moment, and Milostic is on the front. Ospina is on the wheel. Ospina opens up first. Oh, he sits back down and waits. It's going over the top of Milostic. Milostic responds. It's side by side. That was so close. It's going to be really interesting to see. 0.2 of a second. Peter Milostic takes the win from Carlos Ospina. X100 comes in for third.
So remember, all of our riders' rides up on the MyWhoosh.com website under results. They're live at the moment. When the race finishes, they'll be unofficial until all of the riders' results are verified. Now, riders completing that power passport, doing the weighs and the checks, making sure that they've got that dual recording. If you want to follow the rules and check out what you need to do go onto the website, MyWhoosh.com, and go on to events. And don't forget, of course, make sure you jump on board if you've been out racing and riding. In this race, immediately after will be the men's race warm down. You can jump on with your male, female. You can jump on board whether you've been racing or not and join our riders as they warm down to make their way across. Now, Michael Vink has 1,300 meters to go. The gap to the line over Jasin, 19 seconds behind. And there's been a lot of riders in Category 2 coming in front, but they have got riders in there. Just taking a little bit of a look further back, we're in with Michael Kaminsky on the right-hand side of our screens. And this Kaminsky battle here really is the fight for the places behind. Really, really interesting. We're back in with Vajassin now, and you've got that pursuit. You've Michael Vink leading. You've got Lionel Vajassin. They're the 1-2 at the moment on the way in. Vink has returned and really shaking it up. Vajassin, the rider who can go with him when he attacks and can respond, but eventually the elastic breaking. The battle behind those riders, they're not used to having that. The race is gone. and they're having to fight for the minor places. That's not a normal situation on the Sunday Race Club for any of our riders.
No, it became an abnormal situation last week when Michael Vink returned. So Vink and Vujasin, the two riders, cleared the chase on for third place. And while we saw on the Telmarie June climb, it was Paradines and Kaminsky and Kroll all in the mix. So that is going to be interesting.
Well, we'll see what happens in that run to the line. The man who's going to see the line first, he's come back. He took a third place 5 times. He's got 5 second places. This will be his 24th win on the Sunday Race Club. Michael Vink, your Category 1 winner, right clear of the rest of the field. What a way to take victory. He goes clear and stays clear of the man in second place, Lionel Vujasin. Will take a second place and add that to his polka dot skin suit as the best climber in Category 1 on qualifier number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Well, as Vujasin comes across the line for second place, SS unleashes the sprint in Category 2. He's not going to make the placings today, but he's putting in a strong finish and completing his training and the race for him today. While to Clays, Ivan Nuki, Matthias Van He, all following SS in. They're all running into the line today as Nuki just gets off the bike and starts to stop the clock. Is in with the mix.
Okay, so let's see how our riders are in our overall standings. You can just see that Michael Vink leading in from Lionel Vujasin. The rest of those to come. Emma, do you want to run through the top 5 in categories 2, 3, and 4 for us?
I can. So Peter Millerstick takes the win in Category 2. Carlos Ospina, X100. Christoph Thiem, Sebastian Havo, and Phil Graves. Then in Category 3, we have Henrik Oyer from Conrad Fendrich, from Lewis Ridley, Johan Moreno, and Dorvin Ellos taking 5th place there today. In Category 4, it was Daniel Cadiz from James Robinson, Brian White, Alalusa, and Winfield.
So they are your current top 5. Don't forget all these results live and on the MyWhoosh.com website. Please do make sure you jump on board and join us.
I can give you the top 5 now in Category 1. So Michael Vink, Lionel Vujasin taking 3rd place, Mikhail Kaminsky today, Jasper Paradines taking 4th, and Christoph Kroll taking 5th place.
So jump on board, have a look. Even better, jump on board, come and join us here. My name's Matt Payne, bringing you all of the race action. Please do give me a follow. It's at MattFixerPayne on Instagram. You can follow Emma Martin. It's at biking_Emma on Instagram. Make sure you jump on board and follow MyWhoosh. It's at MyWhoosh on Facebook, on Instagram. It's my_whoosh on X. Don't forget, whilst you're online, to hit the subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Be notified, not just when we go live with the Sunday Race Club, but when there's new episodes of Inside the Ride. For example, the new interview with Tadej Pogacar. Very interesting.
I think there's one with Peter Sagan coming soon.
Or you might just have given away a big trade secret there. You heard it here first on the Sunday Race Club.
I don't think I did.
We'll find out. Don't forget, you can catch up with Emma. It's also on the Virtual Velo podcast. Myself on the Crosscast if you're into your cyclocross. Emma's back coaching next week, kicking off on Monday.
Tomorrow.
And
Tomorrow lunchtime,
all of
European
those
time.
training programs you can see on the MyWhoosh app. So download, jump on board, join Emma on the coaching session, join me on a ride. Do join us next week for the race. Qualifier number 3 is our final qualifier. 2 rides to count. You've got to get 2 verified rides in for our riders, so be interesting to see who's up there and who's fighting for the prize money in qualifier race number 3. We will hopefully see you there. A massive thank you to you for watching. A massive thank you to our riders today for keeping the racing absolutely non-stop from the start to the finish. A massive thank you to the team behind the scenes who bring not just the racing, the game, but also the broadcast here. A big thank you to them. Without them, we can't put words to the action. But from Emma and myself, stay safe. We'll see you again next week.
Goodbye.